بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Honorable Assembly, may the peace of God be upon you. It is a pleasure to welcome you to the 20th Conference on Annual Energy, entitled
الاتجاهات المستقبلية، الابتكار والأسواق والجغرافيا السياسية. ونبدأ فعاليات هذا المؤتمر بكلمة ترحيبية لسعادة الدكتور جمال سند السويدي.
We will start the opening remarks by Dr. Jamal Sanad Al-Suwaidi. I will be reciting his remarks on his behalf. In the name of grace of the God, most gracious, most merciful, Honorable Assembly, Excellencies, researchers, experts, ladies and gentlemen, may the peace of God be upon you. Welcome to the Emirates Center for Strategic Studies and Research in the 20th Conference on Annual Energy, entitled Future Energy Trends, Innovation Markets and Geopolitics. I would like first to extend to you the welcome of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, Deputy Supreme Commander of the UAE Armed Forces, and President of the Emirates Center for Strategic Studies and Research. He wishes you a great stay in the UAE. He trusts that your research, your discussions, and your ideas will light the way towards the establishment of energy policies worldwide. Ladies and gentlemen, this conference is held shortly after the UAE won the right to organize the International Energy Conference in order to assert its role in preserving the energy market and its innovative position also, and its leadership in approaches that would lead to the diversification of energy sources. The whole world is witnessed that and was asserting this role when they gave the UAE the right to host IRENA. So this 20th conference comes at the same time with the 20th anniversary of the Emirates Center for Strategic Studies and Research. The first the first annual energy conference was held in 1995, and this is very important not only for the UAE but also for the entire world. During the past 20 years, the annual energy conference became an international podium for the discussion on the future and of the present, and it created also a wide range of discussions that would benefit the researchers and those who conduct studies all around the world about energy. Ladies and gentlemen, this 20th conference is focusing on innovation, markets, and geopolitics, and it links the energy to the future of the world. All of this is due to the developments and changes that we are witnessing on the level of innovation, markets, and geopolitics, and the openness to new scenarios that will be interlinked to the international economy. So in innovation, we are witnessing an increase in the creation of new technologies that will deal with the CO2 emissions and will meet the needs of everyone. As of the markets, we are witnessing a decrease in the oil prices, and we are also talking about shale gas and shale energy. We are also witnessing a transformation in the consumption to the benefit of the Asian new countries. So we have a lot of fields in the markets that need to be studied in order to elaborate new strategies to deal with it. As for the geopolitical level, we can see many changes, such as the increase of threats to the Hormuz and Bab al-Mandab point of passages, and the control over many of the oil fields in Iraq by different organizations. Also, a lot of crises have hit Libya and Iraq and many other oil-producing countries. So I am sure and certain that this conference will give these issues all the attention they require and study them. I wish also that your works in this conference will be an addition, a great addition to the international discussion on the production of energy. And we wish you a great stay in the UAE. Once again, welcome, and may the peace of God be upon you.
والآن يشرفني دعوة معالي المهندس.
Now, I would like to invite His Excellency Engineer Suhail Mohammed Faraj Al-Mazrou'i, Minister of Energy of the United Arab Emirates. You may take the floor, Your Excellency.
أصحاب المعالي السعادة
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen,
يطيب لي بداية
I have the pleasure, first of all, to welcome you all at the UAE
وفي العاصمة
and in its capital, Abu Dhabi.
وأود
And I would like to thank
مركز الإمارات
the ECSSR for organizing such
اللقاءات
meetings
في عدة مجالات
in various fields, especially in the field of energy.
أود أن أستعرض معكم
I would like to review with you the role of energy
اقتصاديات الدول
and the economies of the countries, and I think that this topic is
الإشارة
very important. The UAE is an example in the use of energy in developing the economy and the building of the state.
النفط
Oil and gas
والأحفورية
or fossil energy was and still, and according to the experts, will remain till 2040 and beyond one of the main sources of energy.
لذلك
Therefore,
أن نبني
we should
رؤية
build a clear vision
استخدام
in the use of
الموارد.
these resources.
كما تعلمون جميعا
As you know,
إن مصادر الطاقة
the sources of conventional energy
أو إضافة
had a new coming, which is what we call shale oil, that many saw as a competitor to conventional oil, and there will be a crisis between what is conventional and what is new. And our view in this field was that
متفاعلة لأن
they are complementary, because we
ما تم
look
استثماره
to what has been invested and what the world should invest in oil and gas, and we see that it's not enough to respond to the future needs of energy. Therefore, the emergence of shale oil and shale gas is complementary to conventional oil, and this harmony between them and complementarity will remain in the future.
كثير من الدول الصناعية
Many industrial countries changed in their strategies from being or depending on importers to having strategies to get into the market of energy production. Many of the Chinese companies, Korean, Indians became today among the biggest countries in the production of oil, especially
الغير تقليدي.
non-conventional oil.
لو نظرنا إلى
If we look at the statistics,
تستمر هذه المناظرة
will this competition continue or not? We find that oil will remain as 26% of the contribution of energy by 2040. But
الغاز الطبيعي سوف يزيد
natural gas will increase
نظرا لما له
and surpass oil because it has positive impacts on environment. Coal was and is still one of the sources of electricity production, but experts think that it will have a little impact in the future on this production because of its environmental impact by 2040.
طبعا
Of course, the UAE
وضعت استراتيجية
has led a clear strategy in diversification and was among the first in the region and among many countries in having a future vision regarding the challenges in the field of energy. 15 years ago, we found that
لن نتمكن
we will not be able to respond to all the needs in terms of natural gas from our own resources. Therefore, we had a strategic project, which is the Dolphin Line for gas, which generates today 50% of the needs of electricity sector and desalination in the UAE.
بعد ذلك
After that, we thought that dealing with the future 2025 and 2030 will not be easy, having one source, which is natural gas, to produce electricity. So the UAE constructed one of the best programs in electricity nuclear production in the world, which is nowadays an example for many countries in the world. The contribution of this energy, also the UAE and its government set a clear goal, and it was transparent in declaring these percentages to the world and to the consumers. So by 2020, nuclear energy will represent 25% of the contribution in the production of electricity. In addition to natural gas, which will be reduced from 100% to nearly 70%. The UAE also invested a lot in the field of renewable energy. These investments are based on a clear vision and strategy, and that the renewable energy being very friendly to the environment will be the energy of the future, and its contribution will increase even if its cost compared to natural gas or others is considered very expensive. This strategy stemming from the leadership of the UAE under the leadership of the head of state Khalifa bin Zayed and his brother, His Excellency Mohammed bin Rashid, Vice President and head of the government and ruler of Dubai, and the follow-up of Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan is helping the UAE to have this when we look to natural gas, also the UAE has a clear plan for natural gas. Natural gas will contribute threefold in the UAE. The first is the natural gas produced locally. ADNOC and other companies invested in new kinds of gas that we call non-conventional of natural gas. And this year we will witness the production of the first field from the field of Shah and the company of Hassan for the production of this kind of gas. The second kind is importing through pipelines, and the third one will be the natural gas, liquefied natural gas. So we have three different kinds of gas, and it represents 70% of the production of electricity and three different sources of energy in the UAE. Renewable energy, we had, of course, investments in the UAE, but also we had cooperation and partnership with other countries. London Arena is one of the projects in the UK, and also in Spain we have another project. And in cooperation with Arena, the UAE built some countries that have difficulties in the production of energy. What is the future? The future is that diversity is required, a clear strategy is required. The most important challenge for us as states, especially in the region, is to deal with subsidies which led to a lot of waste or not a good use of energy. We find that our countries are among the most consumer countries at the level of the planet. So this behavior should change through strategies and laws and also awareness of the consumers, and this is what our institutions are doing at the local level. We are working at the Ministry of Energy to have a general strategy for the sector of energy in the UAE under the auspices of the Council of Ministers. And this strategy will deal with all the challenges of energy in the UAE and will enable us to continue on the path of good strategy and planning for this sector. And we work also on one of the main laws, and I think it will be the first in the region in terms of saving energy. We will have many laws that will save energy, and various institutions who are doing that, but it's not enough. So we want in the UAE to have a model in dealing with the future of energy and the challenges of energy. I will talk a little bit regarding what's going on. I know that many journalists want to talk about the fall of prices today. Our vision is clear, and this is not the first time that we witness a fall of the prices. The last 4 years were very good, with a lot of incentives for many countries to invest in the field of oil and gas. But this investment, if it's not based on economic clear basis, will be unsuccessful and will not continue. Therefore, some of the big companies and oil producing countries, their policies are not changing, but small companies who were introduced recently should know and be aware of the situation of the market in terms of demand and supply. And I would like to tell you that the UAE is committed to respond to the needs of the international needs in terms of oil or gas as member of OPEC. We see this responsibility with seriousness, and will do everything to do whatever is required from us, and will not politicize this process, just demand and supply. And this requires an international cooperation in terms of investment. So we should not follow what rumors here and there. And big producing countries should have clear policies to respond to the international needs with a continuity of investment in this vital sector. There is development and international demand, and also the fall, natural fall, 5% every year. We lose some 5 to 8% of our fields, and we have to compensate that. All the investments during the past 4 years were based on $100 a barrel, and this price is was adopted by many international companies. I will not talk about a given price, because we don't aim at having a given price, but the continuity of the investment. What we invested today, we will see it after 4 or 5 years. So if you talk to any of the investment companies of big petroleum companies, they will say the same thing. We don't want to see a crisis after 4 or 5 years because we did not invest or the price was not appropriate. And this I would like to end my speech, and I'm sure that the assistants, the people here, will discuss thoroughly all the challenges in the field of energy, and we in the UAE and the Ministry of Energy, we are ready to participate in this dialogue and enrich it with our experience in this field. At the end, I thank the organizer of this conference, and I thank you for this invitation. Thank you.
شكرا معالي المهندس.
Thank you, Your Excellency, Engineer Suhail Mohammed Farj Al-Mazrouai. Now we will take a break for 15 minutes and come back to start with our first panel entitled Innovation and Conventional Energy Sources. Thank you.
In the name of God, we have the pleasure to start our first panel, and we have two speakers. The first one is His Excellency Abbas Ali Al-Naqi, Secretary General of Organization of Arab Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, and His Excellency Engineer Yusuf Al-Ali, Associate Director at Masdar, and we will give a short bio of their CV. At the beginning, His Excellency Mr. Abbas Ali Naqi will be the first, and then Mr. Engineer Yusuf Al-Ali, and then we will have a discussion, and then a pause for 15 minutes at the cafeteria, which is at the end of the corridor. On behalf of the ECSR and myself, I welcome our two guests. Mr. Abbas Al Naqi is now the Secretary General of the Organization of Arab Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, since the 1st of March 2008. And he has a long experience in the petroleum and energy fields and held several positions in the state of Kuwait prior to joining OPEC as a Secretary General. He also worked as Undersecretary of the Ministry of Oil in Kuwait and Assistant Secretary General for Economic Affairs and representatives of Kuwait of the OPEC and head of the National Committee for the agreement of the UN climate change and vice chair for Asia at the conference in the framework agreement, and also held several other positions in the field of energy in Kuwait and represented Kuwait in many ways. And he has an extensive experience in this field. And I don't want to be long. You can find his bio in the brochure. I welcome our guest, Mr. Abbas Al Naqi. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In the name of God, in fact, I didn't know that the language of the conference was Arabic or English, so we can use both of them, Arabic and English. Anyway, forgive us if there's any shortcomings on my behalf. Mr. Chairman, Your Excellencies, at the beginning, I would like to thank and extend my appreciation for your invitation by the ECSSR, and we are honored to be with you today to clarify some points regarding energy. And as you know, energy is the essence of life in our modern life. We thank also the organizing committee for this good organization and their hospitality, and we wish you success. And we congratulate the UAE and the Ministry of Energy for having the honor to organize the conference of the International Energy Council, which we held in 2019. I was the vice chair of the committee, organizing committee, at one time representing the Middle East, and I know that type of competition that exists, and the honor for any country to organize this conference. So I congratulate the UAE for their choice. Just also, if you allow me, Mr. Chairman, we at the OAPEC, we will hold the 10th annual oil conference in Abu Dhabi in December 2014 here in Abu Dhabi. And this conference is very important. The first was held in 1979 in Abu Dhabi, and this is the 10th conference, also will be held in Abu Dhabi. This is important because it deals with all matter related to energy, but also electricity and oil, the renewable energy, and is attended by the ministers of energy and electricity in the Arab world. This will be a rich conference. It's good for Abu Dhabi to host them here. We move now to...
Ladies and gentlemen, our current energy system is based primarily on hydrocarbons or fossil fuels, which is coal, oil, and gas, which will continue to play the dominant role in meeting demand, although their overall share is expected to fall from 82% to 80% over the period between 2010 and 2035. More specifically, petroleum will continue to provide the largest share of total energy supplies for decades to come. Slide 1 when we talk about the reserves and production in the Arab oil producing countries, looking at the market today, we see that Arab countries hold about 55.8% of world's proved oil reserves and account for about 30% of the world's oil production. Thus will put Arab countries in the top, coming with other international groups. It is worth noting that Arab countries' share in the world's production is much less than its share in the world's proven reserves, which means they can meet any global demand in the future. With regard to oil exports, in 2013, Arab countries' oil exports reached about 20.5 million barrels a day, representing about 32% of total world's oil export. It is expected that the region will continue to play a vital role in the world oil trade. With regard to the natural gas reserves and production, turning to natural gas, the region holds about 27% of the world's proved natural gas reserves and accounts for about 16% of the world's marketed production of natural gas. Gas exports, the Arab region exported about 218 billion cubic meters during 2013, representing about 20.6% of total world natural gas exports. Approximately more than 70% of Arab countries' exports of gas were in the form of LNG, which is liquefied natural gas. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, that was for the current situation in the Arab countries with regard to reserves and exports and production. And when we look at the future outlook, world energy demand is expected to rise by 52% over the period between 2010 and 2035. Oil is expected to remain the main energy source with the largest share, although its overall share may decline from 32 to 26%. The share of natural gas, however, is expected to rise from 21% to 26%. Coal's share remains relatively stable at around 27%. Renewables, such as wind, solar, and geothermal, are expected to grow at about 8% or more than 7%. Producers from Arab region are projected to continue as the main providers of hydrocarbon resources for decades to come. Irrespective of their high consumption rates of both oil and gas, they have the potential for a future increase of their export capacity. In fact, they are the source for the major part of any additional conventional oil supply capacity in the future. Middle East and North Africa, which is the MENA region, the MENA region oil production is expected to reach about 38.2 million barrels a day in 2035, a rise of 7.5 million barrels a day from 2013. And natural gas production is to reach 1,008 billion cubic meters in 2035, a rise of 672 billion cubic meters from 2012. Having said that, it will be essential to promote the early development and deployment of cleaner energy technologies. Given the country's dominance of fossil fuels in the energy mix, we need to look at options that allow the continued use of fossil fuels in a carbon concentrate. In this regard, carbon capture and storage, which is CCS, is a proven one that can be cost effective and has a potential to contribute significantly to emissions reductions. As mentioned above, that the world energy demand is expected to increase by 52% over the period 2010 to 2035. With this figure in mind, there is clearly room for all kinds of energy. Renewables are expected to grow at around 8%, often as a result of government support and incentives. Renewables share in the energy mix is expected to be at 3.5% by the year 2035. Many Arab countries are planning substantial hike in renewable energy capacity due to the availability of resources. However, renewables can only be complement rather than supplement to the hydrocarbon and fuels. دائما نقول ان renewables اوكي يعني اضافه
This is
مكمله للطاقه الاحفوريه الموجوده المتواجده في الوقت الحاضر. نعم كل هذه الانواع من الطاقات.
So all these kinds of energies are complementary and not alternative. So we are not talking here about substitute in terms of renewable energy, but a complementary. It is complementary, and I insist here, and not substitute. Because there is a future demand on all kinds of energy.
Among the most important recent developments in the international energy market has been the development of unconventional resources, in particular shale gas and shale tight oil. Technological advances were behind unlocking conventional resources found in shale and other tight rock formation in North America, including shale gas and tight oil. The results are changing the U.S. energy industry capacity, leading to a resurgence of U.S. oil and gas production and bringing local gas prices down to a historical level. يعني أسعار الغاز في الولايات المتحدة نزلت إلى أدنى حد ممكن. هذا يفضل الغازات الصخرية طبعا داخل أمريكا فقط. Okay. There is no doubt that unconventional oil and gas add depth and diversity to the market, but questions remain as how sustainable this will be in the long run. In fact, there are some legitimate environmental concerns with the specialized techniques used to the extent that some countries, such as France, already banned hydraulic fracturing. However, the scale and the speed of the U.S. boom is unique and difficult to be replicated elsewhere. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, to conclude, over the long term, the energy mix that fuels the world economy is changing in nature. New forms of energy and new technologies to harness that energy has been developed over the time. With the introduction of more fuels, the overall energy mix have become more diverse. Generally speaking, renewables, shale oil and gas oil, together with other complementary sources, will have a role to play in meeting the world's future energy need. But those energy sources have their challenges and limitations. Owing to their scale, affordability, and versatility, oil and gas are said to remain the dominant sources of energy for decades to come, as we said, and also to continue providing a major part of the world energy requirements. And having said that, I would like to thank you very much for your kind attention, and excuse me for taking time longer than allocated to me. Thank you very much.
نشكر الأخ الفاضل سعادة
We would like to thank His Excellency Abbas Ali Al-Naqi, Secretary General of the Organization of Arab Petroleum Exporting Countries. And thank you for this great presentation. And we would like to welcome now Engineer Yusuf Al-Ali. He is the General Manager of Shams Power Company, a joint venture between Masdar, Total, and Abenog Solar. Of course, Masdar has 60%, Total has 60%, and Solar has 20%. Shams is developing one of the world's largest concentrated solar power plants in the western region of Abu Dhabi. The plant's capacity reaches 100 megawatt. Mr. Al-Ali is responsible for directing, managing, and coordinating all development and operational activities related to the Shams CSP plant. Engineer Yusuf Al-Ali has over 12 years of experience in the renewable energy and petrochemical industries. He joined Masdar in 2007. Join me in welcoming Engineer Yusuf Al-Ali. You may take the floor, sir.
الشكر للدكتور على التقدمة الطيبة هذه.
Thank you, Doctor, for this kind presentation. I would like also first and foremost to thank the ECSSR for giving me the opportunity today to participate to the 20th Annual Energy Conference and to speak to you from this podium. So I will be speaking about three main points in my presentation: the technologies of renewable energies, the annual growth rate in the investment in these technologies. Secondly, the current situation of energy in the UAE and Abu Dhabi. And secondly, the horizons of future investments. Thirdly, I will speak about Master Initiative and its achievements during the past few years in this field. Of course, renewable energy today is considered to be a vast and a large industrial and commercial sector. We are speaking about many technologies that for now are working for dozens of years, such as solar energy, water energy, hydro energy, and as well as other projects that are based on the water in order to produce energy. This is a very old technology. Also, we have the energy that is based on the wastes, where we use the wastes in order to transform it into renewable energy. The international investments in 2003 reached $250 billion. When we compare between this number and the investment in the traditional energies, we can see that the investment in renewable energies is exceeding the investment in traditional energies based on fossil oil. This opened the door for many opportunities to invest in this sector and invest in technology developing companies. So it opened a large door on the international level. In terms of production, 22% of electricity production came from renewable energy. So 22%, including most of it was the hydro energy that was able to give the most of these 22%. So 6% to other sources and the rest for the hydro energy. So given the increase of prices of fossil oil and the improvement in the renewable energy, we can see that what we are expecting by 2035 is that the investment in renewable energies will exceed by far the investment in fossil oil. So, for example, we will see, let's say, that electricity based on gas will be 20%, 1% hydropower or hydroelectricity. So, in general, we can see an international orientation towards the investment in renewable energy in all parts of the world. So now there are countries leading this trend on the international level. In 2013, we witnessed large investments in China in renewable energy sources, very large investments that were less than the years before in the European Union countries, but are still considerable investments and are still attracting the international investments, billions of dollars in renewable energy. So the UAE, Europe, China, India are attracting most of the investments in renewable energy. The UAE, thank God, has a lot of oil. We have this very important richness. We have the fifth largest quantity of reserves of oil. So it is the sixth country in the world in terms of reserves. So this is a very large richness, and we need to use it and maximize its use in order to benefit from it in the right way. So given this fossil energy and oil in the UAE, we were able to continue our development. Our industries are increasing. Demand on electricity, on water is increasing. So the demand is increasing all the time. And it is expected to double by 2030. With this doubled demand, we will have a doubled also demand on oil. We are expecting that by 2030, most plants will be using gas. So the demand on gas and the consumption of gas will exceed the double of the quantity used today. So all will be based on gas. Other things need to be taken into consideration. A lot of industries rely on gas. We use it in the industries of petrochemicals, etc. So we have a large need for using gas, and in order to continue witnessing this flow of gas, that it's very important and vital to our economy. At the same time, we have a threat or a challenge of using gas to generate electricity. So it is clear that gas is a very precious commodity, and our production will not be enough to cover our flourishing economy that will continue to ask for it. So you will need to import gas. As His Excellency said, we are one of the first countries who started importing gas from Qatar through Gulfin. Then we will need, of course, more gas, additional quantities. So one of the sources that will be providing us with gas are the acid gas that will be more expensive, and importing also liquefied gas that will be really expensive. If we look today to the price of production of electricity in UAE, we will witness that it's still expensive despite the consolidation of the price of gas. So one energy unit of gas is like $2. So the real price of production of electricity in Abu Dhabi and in the UAE in general exceeds 83 fils. It is true today that the gas prices are witnessing a decrease in the UAE, but the international world price of gas is still increasing, and it is more than 80 or 38 fils. So we have two main elements. we need to import gas. And with the import of gas, we will be importing energy. And we have a problem here, especially that many of the marine point of passages are witnessing turbulences. And also we have another challenge, which is the sources of gas being far from us. So also we have the high prices. And this will affect the strategy of choosing the sources of energy. We have more choices. The UAE, thank God, adopted a new strategy to diversify our sources of energy, such as nuclear power and our project for nuclear power and renewable energy. In the context of the current situation that we are witnessing and the prices of today that are decreasing, of course, we can say that we have a lot of competition to the fossil energy. We are speaking about 38 fills of energy produced by radiance. So it is in great competition with the electricity generated by compressed natural gas or other types of gas. So we have different projects for renewable energy. The Masdar initiative and the most important achievements. I will be brief in telling you what is this initiative. I will introduce it. It is a plan to create a sector for renewable energy in the UAE. This plan, the strategy, covers all phases of the value chain in this process, starting with the education, developing the cadres, research and development, and then investing in technologies and developing infrastructure. Starting with the importance of education. The education is very important because we need to transform this economy from a consumer or from an oil-based economy to an economy based on the vast and large experiences in Abu Dhabi or the UAE. So we launched the first higher education institute that focuses on sustainable energy. It was created with partnership with MIT, which is one of the greatest institutes for engineering. It was launched in 2008, and so far we or 4 generations have graduated from our institute. We focus on technology, on energy transportation, conductors, and also on solutions and specialized policies in the field of energy. The percentage of Emirati or nationals in the institute are 44%. The second phase is the investment in technologies. So we started with education, with research and development, and this will lead to technologies. We need to invest in technologies in order to use them later on in the commercial field. So we created Masdar for investment that manages money that comes from foreign sources. We have $540 million. Our contribution as Masdar is very low, but we rely on foreign investments in order to manage them, an investment in the renewable energy. The most important phase in the investment in renewable energy, and we achieved so many successes here, it's the creation and a reinforcement of large infrastructure projects. On the national level, Masdar developed Shams Wahad with a capacity of 100 megawatt. It uses the solar power, and we launched it in 2013. Also, we are using that through Masdar, of course. Now we are developing the first project for capturing carbon. It is the largest project in the region. It will capture around 800,000 tons of CO2, which will be transferred to Rumaitha field. The project is still under construction now, and we will start transporting the first the first part of this CO2 in the coming year. So we also have large investments in the wind power. We have a project in London. It works. It was completed 1 year ago. It produces energy in England, and we also invested in Dajan with a capacity of 400 megawatt. It is a wind energy production project. This project is still under construction. In terms of solar power, we invested in the construction of solar power plants in Spain with a capacity of 20 megawatt, and another plant in Spain with a capacity of 100 megawatt, in addition to many other power plants dispersed in many parts of the world. So about the Shams Power Company, it was opened a while ago. It was also opened by the president of the UAE, and in addition to the government of the UAE that was present and participated to this launch. Of course, the ministers took an oath. The new ministers took the oath to assume their tasks and their ministries during this celebration. And I think this is all of the UAE investments in renewable energy are a clear witness that we are working on increasing the development in terms of renewable energy, not only in the UAE, but all around the world. This is one of our projects in Spain. Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed participated to the launch along with the King of Spain at the time. So this power plant is of 20 megawatt capacity. It is a clear development in this field because it is the first power plant able to produce this type of energy in a consumer and they are available for consumers. It's continue producing the energy 24/7. This is another project in Britain. At the end, I have a short video that shows the technology adopted in Shams Power Company.
دولة في المنطقة تقوم بتصميم وبناء وتشغيل محطة كبيرة للطاقة الشمسية المركزة. شمس واحد هي إحدى أكبر محطات الطاقة الشمسية المركزة في العالم، إلا أن مبدأ عملها بسيط للغاية، فهي تستخدم صفوفا من المرايا العاكسة المقعرة لتجميع أشعة الشمس وتركيزها على أنبوب مركزي يمر بداخله زيت يعرف بسائل النقل الحراري، ونتيجة لذلك ترتفع حرارة السائل إلى 393 درجة مئوية. بعدها ينتقل السائل إلى مبادل حراري ينقل الحرارة من الزيت إلى المياه لينتج بخارا عالي الضغط، ثم يمر البخار في معزز حراري يرفع حرارته إلى 540 درجة مئوية، حيث تزيد هذه العملية من كفاءة البخار لتدوير التوربين المسؤول عن تشغيل مولد الكهرباء الذي تبلغ استطاعته 100 ميجاوات. وتصل طاقة شمس 1 إلى 100 ميجاوات، ما يعني أنها قادرة على تزويد 20,000 منزل بالكهرباء في دولة الإمارات. وتستخدم الكهرباء التي تولدها شمس 1 لتغذية شبكة الكهرباء الوطنية في دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة، بما يؤمن مزيدا من إمدادات الطاقة اللازمة لتطوير وطننا.
خلاص كده. نشكر سعادة المهندس.
We would like to thank Engineer Yusuf Al Ali for this very valuable presentation. We will open the floor now for discussion. You can ask your question in Arabic or in English. But please, before asking your question, identify yourself and identify the person you are asking the question to. Thank you.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بخصوص السؤال أوجه للمهندس يوسف.
The question is to Engineer Yusuf Al Ali concerning the orientation of our country to produce renewable energy and alternative energies. There are some countries now that cancelled many projects, many renewable energy projects. Why? So now our country is working on creating alternative energy, and this is good in order to preserve our resources. However, is there future projects to expand, for example, solar power, given that many countries in Europe, such as Germany, started with allocating a budget for the renewable energy for 2013, 2014, but later on they canceled the project altogether. So is it because it is because the lack of revenues from this type of energy production, or is there threats? Now let's say that the production of renewable energy will cost us a certain amount of dirhams, but this cost will decrease by half, let's say, if a new technology is discovered. Did you take this into consideration, given that as Masdar you are entrusted with doing that? If we compare the investment in renewable energy in 2013, 2012 and 2014, we will witness a decrease in investment. It is true, as you already said. In Germany, they decreased their investments also. However, this was coupled with increase in revenues, because maybe Germany stopped its allocations to the renewable energy. However, the market responded by creating more, started competing more. There was more also an increase in the value because they started competing, so they decreased the cost. So some countries such as Germany were able to reach this level because through the years they were able to attract very large companies and created an economic sector that is very competitive. So as a future plan, we are expecting the solar power. We are interested as UAE in solar power. However, it will continue to decrease despite the fact that there are a lot of maybe changes in the prices. We can say that with time, the investment in solar energy will decrease and the price of fossil oil will increase in the coming years. So the investment in renewable energies will be a very important component to the energy mix in the UAE. Please, when you ask your question, stand up, say your name, and what do you do?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
In the name of God, Muhammad Sayer Master Institute. I would like to thank you for the great presentations. However, now my question is, we know that the solar power faces two technical problems. First of all, we know that during the day we have sun, during the night we don't. Secondly, the western region is known to have a lot of dust, for being very dusty. So how was Shams Power Company able to decrease the impact of these two problems? Thank you. The location of Shams Power Plant is in a dusty place, as you already said. We adopted many technical solutions, such as a very, very high wall that would stop the winds. We also adopted a very advanced technology for cleaning. We have 5 machines and mechanisms that during the night clean always continuously the mirrors. Shams Power Plant relies on also the concentrated solar power. It works on natural gas. If we need to operate this network, we can, if we receive a demand, yes, we can work and operate during the night, because our recharge batteries are still very, very expensive, and I don't think it is economically good. So we can use different technologies, such as the technologies we used in Spain through the salt, and it can conserve energy for a long period of time.
السلام عليكم. قاسم السلام.
Qasim Salam,
باحث تاريخي.
historical researcher. A question to Mr. Abbas Naqi regarding something that appeared, which is security-wise, that endangers the sources of energy.
مصادر الطاقة أصبحت مهددة.
The sources of energy are now in danger more than any other economic sector or other locations. Therefore, we couldn't find solutions to armed robberies and pirating. And the danger is increasing on the sources of energy in any country, and any country that has sources of energy, its sources as now a target for terrorists. So what your organization has done in this field, and why we couldn't find a solution, security or political solutions, but only partial or individual solutions implemented by some countries alone, and this is not enough. Thank you. In fact, it's not our organization that has to do with pirating, and you can talk about piracy in sea, and these are criminal bans. But the Arab Transportation Oil Company is one of the companies, is a subsidiary of our organization and created in the mid-70s. It's in charge of the transportation of petroleum through tankers. One of its tankers was pirated, and this tanker in the past, every tanker had the flag of a member country, but this tanker was having the flag of the UAE at that time. It has been controlled by pirates. The company, not us, managed to solve this problem that they and recovered the tanker and paid, as you know, some ransom. The company paid, but after this incident, the company put on every tanker security guards. In the past, there were no security guards because nobody used to be subject to this piracy. Therefore, we put security guards, armed men on these tankers, and transportation companies, other transporting companies also adopted similar measures. Now, most of the companies have armed guards, especially to protect these tankers against pirates. Like what happened with Daesh in Iraq and Syria. There is no protection not only for these sources of energy, but also in selling energy to countries with symbolic prices, very cheap prices. There is a threat of robbery and selling the petrol with cheap prices. What you mentioned and these armed groups that control some oil wells, it's not under the control of our governments and our organizations, so it's very difficult to control the production of these groups. And also those who buy this oil. This is another topic. We cannot, as people in this place, to say why we do this and not that. If there is no ethics in that, it's also it's only business.
Hind
Shamsi from the office of the Minister Shamsi. My question is regarding the competitiveness of the UAE in the energy sector. Competitiveness is something on our agenda, and we want to prove ourselves and make a difference in this field. So could you tell us how we can have a competitiveness environment in this field, the field of energy? Do you mean competitiveness within the country or on the outside? Thanks God, we have many companies that have that make a difference, like Mubadala, the company of Mubadala, which has investments in the fields of energy, in Oman and other countries, and also they have other investments in other fields like the semiconductors and investments in other countries. Besides Mubadala, we have IPEC, which has petroleum investment in many parts of the world, successful investments that are well recognized, and the company Taqa in the field of energy, like in Morocco, it's one of the main supplier of energy in Morocco through the station of Jarf al-Asfar. So the structure that we have in government companies made them work as just like private companies, which made them very competitive at the world level. And as I said, also Masdar also works in the field of energy in Britain and in Spain. So in the markets that have laws that will secure these investments. Please, the question should be brief. Abdullah Naimi from the Higher Council of National Security. A question to Mr. Youssef Al-Ali. It's not the future of investment in renewable energy, taking into consideration the fall of the prices. What kind of prices should we have to encourage investment? I'm not an expert in the field of oil, but I think that the price of natural liquefied gas is between $12 for the thermal unit. So the production level for electricity is around 40 fils. Today, so the electromagnetic energy could be lower to 25 cents. So subsidies and policies are important, but renewable energy will prove itself as an important component. We cannot depend on it 100%, but could represent a percentage to reduce the cost of the import of energy. So if the price of gas is more than 10, so the renewable energy will be competitive.
صباح الخير محمد المرزوقي من كليات
Muhammad Marzuki from Higher College of Technology. A question to Mr. Naqib and Al-Ali regarding OAPEC. We noticed recently that the economy of the world is increasing with the fall of the prices of oil, and some countries like Iraq and Libya will have problems. The supply is less. And there is no logic. Can you give us what is the logic? As OPEC, you try to control these prices and reduce the fall of the oil prices. And a question to Mr. Al-Youssef regarding renewable energy. Some countries depend on renewable energy in Europe, and they depend on wind and not sun because they don't have it. We have it here in the Gulf more than other countries. What is the policy of the UAE in this renewable energy? And do you think that it's feasible today to invest in these things, or maybe it will be feasible in the future with the technology, development of technologies in 5 or 10 years? If I understand your question, if you mean that there are less supply from some countries and the fall in prices. The current prices and the fall of the current prices not necessarily is linked to demand and supply. Now there are many other things, and among them demand and supply. And also there is more supply than demand nowadays. And there is a recession in certain economies in the USA and also in China and in Europe. So their economies are shrinking in some way. Therefore, the demand now or in the past weeks, the rate of supply was more than the demand. And also, there are supplies from the outside of OPEC. Of course, in addition to that, we have the disturbances in some countries, maybe now compared to supply and demand and the reserves and the fluctuation of the oil prices. All these things together, in addition also to some technical issues, could all contribute to the fall of prices. And we see at the end that this fall could this fall will not continue. These are periods in a given cycle, and we hope that prices will jump higher again. In the UAE, we don't have sources of wind except in some areas, and the levels are not very high like in the islands or mountain areas. We have some wind sources, but our focus is on our solar energy because it's lost costly. During the past years, during the 3 past years, the prices of renewable energy are falling. It's now half. So the price of the electromagnetic energy is really economically feasible. And it also depends on the gas prices. If the prices of gas the liquefied gas were between $10 or $12 and more. So the solar projects will be feasible economically. In addition to the economic feasibility, you have the security of energy. Will you depend on the import of energy, or you wanted to have part of this energy produced within the UAE? These are the 2 main factors here. Thank you. Abdul Ilah Muhammad from the University of Jazeera in Sudan. Question to Mr. Abbas Ali. In fact, now progress is measured by the rate of consumption of electricity, and so saving electricity is something very important. So what is the plan to promote the saving of electricity in households? A question to Mr. Youssef. You are doing a lot in the field of solar energy. What is your role in energy from waste? You have 55 million palm trees with waste. You can use them also in the production of biogas. Do you have a plan in exploiting this energy from biogas? Promotion of saving of energy is something very important for our countries and our people. And this comes from different sources. First, from within ourselves as individuals. This kind of self-discipline is very important and coming from ourselves. The second one is from the government themselves, from the state, who have an important role to play in the promotion of such disciplines through all means of media. And I think they can organize conferences also regarding this and the promotional campaigns. In many countries, and the Arab countries and non-Arab countries, the subsidies to petroleum products will push people to consume more. So governments should come forward and increase the programs of awareness, in addition, of course, to the self-awareness from within the individuals and the households. But if you say that to remove the subsidy, this is a different question. It needs a political decision at the highest level to remove subsidies on oil products. These are, as I say, political.
Concerning the waste to energy, there are a lot of preliminary studies, feasibility studies for waste to energy projects. There are many working in Abu Dhabi about on feasibility studies, but they are still preliminary studies. There's nothing on the ground now. I think that in terms of tidal power or the tides in the UAE, they are not as strong as in other countries, so we cannot harness the tidal power. So maybe it could be more feasible in other places. We have no we don't have feasibility studies in this regard. I cannot see you. Please hold your hand high. Halima Swaidan, please speak louder. My question is, Engineer Youssef, you spoke about the investments in the UAE in order to improve the renewable energy. In addition to financial investments, we have another very important element, which is the human resources. What is required of the education, research, and development sector in the UAE in order to generate the right human resources for this field? Because we are seeing that you are relying more on foreigners, on foreign expertise. So what is asked of us as an educational sector in order to produce the national expertise? In general, The UAE had many successes in the field of human resources development. However, the oil and gas sector in UAE is much more complex. So some companies were able to produce the skills or the skilled and qualified people to participate. As I already said, in Masdar initiative, we had an educational component and a research and development component. So Masdar Institute works as a complementary institute to other universities and institutes in the country. So we focus on sustainable technologies, the renewable power and energy resources, technologies that will generate the right skills in order to participate to this field. Thank you very much for holding this conference and for your efforts. I'm Taysir Sulaiman. I work in the private sector. The UAE in particular and the GCC in general rely on oil and gas power in general. Do you have any plans or economic plans to stop relying on gas and oil resources and creating economic diverse projects on a wider range in order to stop relying on oil and gas? Of course, the UAE has announced a plan, a strategy to increase the share of clean energy to 24-25% of the energy used. And we mean by that the renewable and nuclear energies. We took very important steps in this direction. In 2017-2018, we will be witnessing it. Also, we took many steps in creating projects working on renewable energies, and we have underway or coming projects. Also, we have in Dubai, 1 year ago, we launched the first renewable energy power plant of 13 megawatt capacity, and now we are working on one with a capacity of 100 megawatts. So we're making a lot of efforts and taking a lot of the steps in this direction. I'm Dr. Ali Al-Amoudi. I am an engineer in ADNOC, environmental engineer, and I used to work in the UN. I would like to thank you, both speakers, and I salute the young people who are trying to be responsible. My question is the investments of UAE and the achievements of Shams, Masdar, nuclear power plants, and many other achievements and contributions in the field of the so-called green energy. Do you think that this reinforces the 2021 vision or 2030 vision, which are strategic green energies, or do they take a different turn and aim at supporting the green economy? So are we investing in order to reinforce the environment and protect the environment and decrease the greenhouse gases emissions? So as a technical professional person, in which direction are we going? Thank you. The UAE has a clear-cut strategy and vision about the renewable energy. According to what I know, of course, the government has its own reasons for adopting this vision, but I think that these measures are based on economic measures because they took a clear vision on the future prices of the oil and gases. So we can say, as per the calculations, that now it is feasible for us to work on such power generation, and also coal can be used and feasible if we couple it with other kinds of strategies in order to decrease the pollution. This is one thing, the economic vision. However, we have also an environmental interest because we are aiming at decreasing our CO2 emissions, and of course, Irina is a great player. We have also Irina, and we are a great player in decreasing the CO2 emissions. And we also aim at continuing to push forward the development process in the country. We have investments, we have industries that would create jobs and employments. So we are trying to diversify our resources or our sources of energy for the economy and for the environment. Last question. Assalamu alaikum. Yazan Adnan from Sharjah University. My question is for Engineer Yusuf. Can you give us an idea about what is asked of a graduate from the university? What does he have to do in order to continue his master's at Masdar Institute? Of course, we open our doors to all the distinguished students, and the same we adopt the same standards as MIT. You can look at this on the internet. As for the CO2 project, this is considered to be one of the first projects in this regard on the international level. It is a joint venture between ADNOC and Masdar. It is a power plant to capture the CO2 emitted by Musaffah iron industrial area. We gather all this CO2 and we remove the moisture from the gas. Then we transport the gas through pipes to Rumeisa field. So when we use the CO2 and we put it in the field, we can decrease our reliance on the CO2, which means that we will be able to save a lot of it. And the CO2 here can impact also the fluid character and aspect of the oil. One last comment. I just wanted to speak about the point raised by the brother concerning the prices of oil and the fact that we rely heavily on the oil and gas. A lot of our countries adopted different measures to counter these effects, to face them. The UAE is the pioneer in alternative energies, as you all know. Other countries launched projects in solar power, such as KSA and North Africa. So they are trying to diversify their sources of energy, and all we are saying is that these types of energy will be complementary to our traditional energy sources of energy, because in the future we will witness an increase in demand on energy. So in general, we could say that in the future we have to work on diversifying our sources of energy. We shouldn't rely on only one source, or two, for that matter, because having one or two sources will leave us in a very fragile position. We need, therefore, to work on diversifying also our revenues and stop relying heavily on oil and gas. And again, thank you for attending. In conclusion, I would like to thank everyone. I would like to thank the speakers and the audience. And we would like to apologize to all those who were not able to ask their questions. We will have more opportunities later. We will break now for 15 minutes in the cafeteria. And at 12:30, we will start our second panel. Thank you very much.